Alright, this video is an overview of the truckload module that is available as an extra add-on to routeman. So this module can be purchased separate and turned on from the routeman team and would normally require extra training. So if you are purchasing this module as you're beginning to launch routeman, we would plan on spending extra training at that point to train your company how to use it. But if you're a current routeman user and you decided you wanted to start using the truckload module, we would discuss further training with you and your staff when you decide to do that. Usually this is done by companies who are managing their inventory and have a good handle on quantities that their customers are ordering, and have someone who is going to be a dock manager, someone whose main role is to manage how the trucks are being loaded and planning and assigning those loads and then putting in the quantities at the end of the run. And so this is going to be an overview of how to use this system. Alright, so when you turn the truckload module on, the tools for the truckload module are going to be located under the dispatch part of the menu. And there's a considerable amount of setup before you're able to use it. So we'll begin by talking about the configurations. So the truck configuration is how the product is going to be laid out in the truck. And you can customize this however many different ways that you need. So you may have trucks that are different size or that carry different kinds of products. So you can come in here and say, I want a certain number of columns and a certain number of rows. And like in this example, we've created where there could be a shelf in the truck. So you could create shelves down the sides or at the front. And then that way you can load different quantities of products on the shelves and still have the pallets underneath or whatever. So you can name whatever configurations that you want to. You can use, if all your trucks are normally loaded the same way, you could use one set default pattern, or you could have however many different patterns you would like as far as configuring how the product is going to be loaded on the truck. When you're doing this, you can assign one configuration to one particular truck or multiple trucks and set it as the default configuration for whichever vehicles you expect to use that layout. The next part of the configuration process is to think about the products, because we don't want every single product in our product list to be showing in the truckload module. If you have delivery fees or rental charges or those kinds of things, we don't want those. So what we're going to do is look at medium 10-pound bags as an example. Okay, so I have my product right here, and there are a few things that we're going to want to make sure we set up with this. Of course, the product has to be active. We are using inventory, so that's selected. This can be dock available if we're selling some directly from the warehouse. That's okay, but it doesn't need to be. It has to be route available, so that needs to be checked off. And hot shot available and truckload available. So these 5 checks need to be in place for any product that we're using with the truckload module. Alright, the next part of setting up the products for the truckload module has to do with the size and quantities. So think about each bulk space on your truckload, whether it's a pallet or a skid or a rack or some kind of shipping container. How many units of that product fit in that space? And so in this case, I'm going to set it up saying the unit of measure for the 10-pound bags is a bag. And then within each bundle, I can fit 4 bags, so 4 units per bundle. And then on a pallet, I'm going to stack 54 bundles of bags. And so by doing that, then when I tell the truckload module I have a pallet of 10-pound bags, it knows how to tally up the quantity and to keep track of that and make sure that I have enough inventory to meet the needs of the orders at that part of the delivery day. So this will have to be done for each of the products that are going to be part of the inventory system and tracked in the truckload module. The next part of configuring the truckload module is to create a separate warehouse that's kind of like a dummy warehouse. So we would come in here to product locations, and we have our list of all the different trucks, and we would have a staging warehouse is a great name for it. And what it is, when we're using the truckload module, we want a place for the inventory to be able to go until the counts are finalized, any damages are accounted for, or something like that. So when the truck comes in, the driver is able to transfer any inventory back off the truck that needs to come off, account for it, and that truck can be loaded right back up and sent back out on another run if need be. Well, if we don't have a place for that inventory to go, it would just get dumped back into the regular warehouse. Well, that can cause all kinds of problems if we haven't accounted for the inventory in the proper way. So we create this second staging warehouse as kind of like a pretend warehouse where the inventory goes into holding until those counts are finalized. Okay, so now we have our staging warehouse. Obviously, we have our regular warehouses, and we have products that are turned on the proper settings to be able to be used in the truckload module. Now it's time to actually create a truckload. So what we'll do is come to dispatch, and we'll choose load trucks. And then when you create a truckload, it can be assigned to a particular device, or it can be just created and then the driver will choose it when they log in. So in this case, you can see there is a truckload for device 5, which is assigned to Debbie's truck. So if we click on that and open it up, what you see here is you're able to create it with a specific date in mind. You're able to control which warehouse it's coming from. You can choose the device, the truck, the layout that's being used, and then we'll go in and choose which products are going in which spaces. Okay, when this truckload was created, it was created empty. So we can come in here and edit, and you see that the screen is blue. And there are 2 ways really to load the product on the trucks. So one is by manually telling it what you want to go where. So you could come in here and say I want 20-pound bags there, and double click and say I want 10-pound bags there. Okay, and you can see that it's loading up the quantities. Remember, we've told the routeman computer how many units is in each pallet of medium 10-pound bags and large 20-pound bags. And so it's going to tally those up as we load the truck. The other way is to use an auto load function that we have. All right, now with using the auto load function, what's going to happen is routeman is going to look at the quantities on the orders that are assigned to this truckload, to this device, and it's going to tell you how to load the products in a way where at the back of the truck are the first orders you're going to service, and it's going to work its way through the truck as you work your way through the orders, so that hopefully you have all the products you need as you work throughout your day. Now, to do this, we're going to have to actually have orders assigned. And if I pull up my dispatch right now, you can see we're working with device number 5. This is the truckload symbol right here. Here are some orders that we have in the available, the hotshot orders or the standard delivery orders that are just unassigned at this point, but there's no other orders anywhere else in my dispatch. I haven't assigned a route yet. While I'm looking at my truck, you can see that there is inventory that's being kept track of. Okay, you remember we put 1 pallet of each of those on my truckload, and so it's keeping track so far. All right, now when you get to this part, you're going to select the truckload, and then we're going to assign the route. The reason you have to select the truckload icon is because this system is built for multiple runs in a day if needed, per device or per truck. And so you choose the actual truckload and then come up here, and we're going to assign a route the way we normally would. I'm going to choose the Alabama route. And this is our regular assign a route to a device from the dispatch screen. If you're not familiar with this, you can go back and search in the Routeman help videos. We have a video about assigning a route in the dispatch, so you can get more detail there. But what we're going to do is use the average summary from the invoices over the past 60 days, and we're going to click submit. And yes. Okay. And so now the orders are created for that route in that truckload. So now what we're going to do is pull the truckload back up, and we're going to come in here under utilities, and we're going to use the auto load truck based upon deliveries, and we're going to click yes and okay. All right, and so in this case you can see that it's telling me these are the quantities that are loaded. Now what's happened is it's taken what I'm committed to. If I come back and look at the dispatch, this is the tally of the quantities. Of course, this is not very realistic that I would only be committed to 2 bags of the 5 pounds and 25 bags of medium. This would be a very small route as far as sales. But you can see how it tells you how to space them out in the truck. And of course, if there were larger quantities, it would just fill in the spaces based on the order that you're going to service those customers. Okay, now you may wonder, what if I have to add more deliveries while that order is being built, while the truck's being loaded, or even throughout the day? We can come in here to delivery dispatch. This is similar to the full dispatch, but often the person running the truckload module didn't want to fool with the entire regular delivery window. And so this is an option that can be turned on. It's specifically for this module. And what you can see here is these are the open orders. If you look over in the dispatch window, you can see the same orders are in there. And what you can do, this is my truckload that I'm dealing with, is you can just select it and drag it down here, and it keeps count of the quantities that are needed. It just adds them in. So if the order doesn't have any information on it, it's not going to add any quantities. But let's say this person called and said, I'm out of ice, and you have the par level set. You know that they normally would take 100 bags. When you drag this order on, that quantity would be added to the commitment to the truckload, and the inventory amount, the required amount would be tallied up in the totals so that you could tell how much is being needed for this truckload. Okay, so you're probably wondering, how does it end up at the end of the day? Well, from the driver's perspective, not very much changes. When they're logging in, part of the login process is actually selecting the truckload that they are working that day. And then at logout, computer will have kept track of their sales and kept track of the inventory coming off the truck. They will be asked, are you finished with the truckload? And of course, they'll answer yes or no. And if they answer yes, the inventory is going to be automatically transferred back to that staging warehouse that we set up. And then at that point, what happens, the dock manager or the truckload manager can come in and enter in whatever quantities as far as damaged or waste or whatever, and they can close out the truckload at the end of the day after accounting for any differences, and the inventory gets transferred back from the staging warehouse into the regular warehouse. The truth is, the truckload module is pretty complex and has a lot of different functions and features and intricacies. And so it's really going to require some extra training, and our staff is ready to help you. Just let us know when you would like to sign up for the truckload module, and we will plan to guide you in that process.